Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Manitou Show. Here we are again. It's another set release. I'm super excited. We got Todd Anderson. We got Gerry Thompson. We got my goofy butt. And we're talking about some Dark Ascension spoilers. What do you guys think about the set so far?
It's awesome.
Yeah, I like it a lot. There are a bunch of cool cards.
Yeah. So this week, what we're going to do on today for Friday, we're going to look at all the white cards in Dark Ascension. Next Monday, we're going to start with the blue cards, and then the black cards for Tuesday, into the red and green, and then the multicolor land, and then sort of a roundup type feel for the last day.
Sounds good.
So today we're going to start with our white, and we might as well get it kicked off with Archangel's Light.
Best card in the set. All right, I'm kidding.
They were trying. I mean, it feels like that card, they're like, we're just going to have to keep pushing it in mana, so it will never, ever see any constructive play.
Yeah, it must have started at like 3 or 4 mana, and they're like, man, this is too much like Knot of the Bone. Let's just make it cost 8.
I don't get it. It seems like there's some joke that I'm just missing.
See, originally it reanimated all of your creatures and put them into play, but they're like, that's just a little too good.
Let's just shuffle them
Let's
instead.
just shuffle
Life,
them back
shuffle. I mean, I don't know what happened with this card. It feels like something like last minute, like let's just make something and pushed out the door. Anyway, Bar the Door is super, super flavorful for me.
Agreed. Yeah.
Just like,
I love zombie movies. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my god.
Yeah, just
Oh,
bolster the defenses, just eat all the zombies. So.
Yep. I love it. So Brigid is up next, and this is a card that it's more or less for me like sort of limited trick. All your creatures get +1/+1, but it has a Fateful Hour ability of if you got 5 or less life, they're also indestructible, which is pretty decent for what it's worth. But the question to me is like, what do you guys think about Fateful Hour in Constructed?
Well, in general, I think Fateful Hour is very good with cards like Hex Parasite and Immolating Soul Eater, the very cheap Phyrexian mana artifact creatures from New Phyrexia. However, if Mono Red becomes a real deck after Dark Ascension, I mean, you can't play that deck. I mean, if you just deal yourself 15 damage, they're just going to, hit you with 2 burn spells, and then you're going to be dead. But it is very powerful.
Yeah. I mean, if Mono Red isn't a deck, can you imagine, like, turn 1 Hex Parasite, turn 2 Gather the Townsfolk, and, like, they're just dead.
We're all in, baby.
Yeah, we are all in, but that's fine. If they're not burning us, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you're not at 0, 5 is the same thing as 20. So.
Right. They play like Nephilia Drown Yard, and you're just like, yes.
Yeah, whatever.
Hex Parasite, I'm at 4 now.
You,
go. So, Burden of Guilt is next. It, your sort of bread and butter card that you have to give up a mana every turn to tap their guy.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty good and limited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a very pacifism-esque card. I mean, it's a little more mana-intensive, but it's still, you'll take what you can get in limited most of the time. So.
Right, and for me, I love this card because it feels like another one of those, it was concepted from the top down, and you have the Widow or what have you.
That's everything in the set, though. It's so good.
It's like, this is when all the cylinders are firing.
Right,
this is the kind of cool stuff you get. Now, Curse of Exhaustion, I like this card a lot.
I talked about this in my Gerry TV, or I will be talking about it next week, I guess.
Ooh.
And it seems pretty good to me. It's a nice little role player. It's a card that can break combo mirrors, actually, whereas all the Rule of Law effects used to be symmetrical, and now it's not. And I also think it's pretty good in control mirrors, too.
Yeah. This is your Rule of Law.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you just attach it to your opponent, I mean, they're restricted to 1 card per turn, whereas you're not. So you just mana leak their 1 spell, and then they're dead, right?
Yeah, it lets you win counter wars, lets you get ahead by chaining card drawing spells, whereas they're just like, I'll think twice on my turn.
The old main face think twice. That's like the thing you want to see the most against your control.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But, I mean, do you feel that this would actually see a serious play in other formats? Or even in Constructed? Could this actually see standard, modern play?
It's
Legacy?
possible.
I mean, it could be good in modern, just as an anti-storm card. Just shuts down all the combo decks pretty easily. I mean, it costs a little bit more than normal, but it doesn't hurt you at all. So I think that's the biggest upside of it.
It's all deck dependent, I think.
Right. So, God Inquisitor, as I will say that, is for me, limited card.
Yep.
2/2 for 4 mana. It's a Lifelinger, but again, it sort of gives you value as these white creatures have in limited for a while now.
Yeah, it seems kind of weird that they print Mausoleum Guard and stuff like this, which is very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I like Mausoleum Guard a lot, so...
Yeah, that's
I'd be
true.
fine
But,
with
Guy
that.
seems fine. Like,
Yeah.
seems good.
yeah, I mean, if you take Doom Traveler, you give him a +1/+1 and a kind of random ability, and make him cost 3 extra mana. Let's see if it's constructed worthy.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to get there. But Faith's Shield is one of those cards that
I think it's good.
randomly can blow people out.
Very similar to Brave the Elements. While the first part of it doesn't really affect all of your creatures, I think just being able to protect one guy from basically any spell or even combat is pretty sweet. And then, if you are doing the all-in on the Fateful Hour, like, just protecting all your guys from Slagstorm is really, really good. So
I think I want this card in my blue-white Delver sideboard.
I think, that's
I wanted
probably a
to
great
dispel
idea.
all last weekend when I was playing in DC. Just want to like protect my sword from their divine offering and stuff like that. And
Ooh,
this,
yeah, that
this is
sounds
this
really
is
good.
awesome.
It does say target permanent, which is important.
Yeah, it is.
And Brave the Elements was just target creature.
Or Brave the Elements is all your creatures.
Or
but,
all your creatures,
but yeah,
wasn't it? Yes. But for what it's worth, like if you're all in on Fateful Hour and they're trying to stop you, and then you just go to 4 and then play Faith Shield, and then your Doomsayer double crusades everything.
Yeah.
All my guys are unblockable. You're dead.
GG. But Gather the Townsfolk right next to it sort of plays right in there. Is this going to be a constructed player for the next couple months?
This card is awesome. Even without the Fateful Hour, I think it would be good enough. Like turn 1 champion, turn 2 this, turn 3 Honor the Pure. Like they're pretty dead.
That's 1,000,000 damage.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah, I really like Gather the Townsfolk. Like, it's not nearly as good as like Lingering Souls, I think, which we're gonna get to in a minute. But it's very good. Making humans is very important.
It fits the curve.
Yes,
with the
it
Lingering
does.
Souls,
It does.
though.
It does.
That's nice. So, Gavin II Iron, right? More Fateful Hour stuff. And for me, I was just like, this is obviously 100% limited. But you were saying that, it is another Crusade effect.
Yeah, I mean, just like Thraven Doomsayer, which also we'll get to in a second. Gavin II Iron, right? It's another Crusade effect if you're all in on Fateful Hour. It also can protect all your guys from Slagstorm just by itself, whereas Thraven Doomsayer will only give all your 1/1s +2/+2, so a Slagstorm will still kill all of your cards from Gather the Townsfolk and stuff like that. So
yeah. So Hallow Hinge Spirit, rather. 2/2 flash flying. When it enters the battlefield, remove target attacking or blocking creature from combat. Super limited card. These are the type of cards that make me excited about the limited format.
Yeah, me too.
definitely.
Because so much crazy stuff is going to happen when this type of card hits the battlefield.
Like when you already have Rebuke and Village Bellringer and this, there's so many tricks that you have to play around. I think it's really rewarding when you're just like, yeah, he's got that one.
Right.
So I'm going to attack like this. And this card is just a card that blows out your opponent if they walk right into it. So
Right. Fair enough.
definitely like that.
Yeah, and they've got they've sort of reprinted these Sentinels of Gwynalandra in blue, and we'll get to that, of course, with the next color. But I love these types of cards, these types of limited filler cards per se, but they just make the environment really interesting to me.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Increasing Devotion, our first of the increasing cycle.
Right. So, aka Conqueror's Pledge. I don't know if you've ever seen that card before, but this seems very similar.
Yep, I think Conqueror's Pledge was 1 more white but made 6 dudes.
That's true, and they were core, but
Right, but this is humans, making human guys.
very important.
That may be important. Like, I don't really see this as being anything that's playable in standard, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I would love to play this in like a Forbidden Alchemy deck, but you have better options, so there's probably not really a point.
All right. Yeah. I think Wizards has also found that they can print these token makers and they're not actually that overpowered. Like the 1 mana for a 1/1 seems to be fine, or like maybe almost 1 mana for a 1/1. But once they fly, then things get different, which is why you look at Lingering Souls and you're like,
Yeah.
3 mana for 2 1/1 flyers, and then 2 mana for 2 1/1 flyers.
Are we agreed? Best card in the set?
I mean, if it's not the best card in the set, it's at least in the top 3.
It's absolutely got to be in the top 3. Like,
it's really, really good.
I think you want to default to, obviously the Planeswalker's the best card, yada yada, but this card's going to see nuts play, and I think a whole variety of.
I mean,
archetypes.
Planeswalker's the flashiest, but when you get right down to it, I think this card's the best.
This card will win the most games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just combine Lingering Souls with a single Honor of the Pure, and it's just way too many creatures and damage for a control deck to deal with. Like, it's just unreal.
Wow. Well, what I was saying to Gerry, just trying to think out of the box a little bit, was would a red-black deck with Faithless Lootings and Liliana's be able to actually filter it into the yard so we could just play a 2 mana, make 2 1/1 guy spell?
And I like that idea a lot, actually. And I think with Evolving Wilds, that type of thing, you're going to see happen a lot. Like, people splashing this card is not going to be out of the ordinary.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, most decks that are 2 colors can already just very easily splash a 3rd color. And if white is your splash, I mean, even if you're primarily casting out of the graveyard, being able to just cast out of your hand on occasion is good enough, I think. So
Absolutely. And I feel like, moving forward, Wizards didn't think that Midnight Haunting was actually constructed playable. And that's the first thing I said on Twitter. I was just like, holy cow.
Yeah.
This card basically said that they didn't know Midnight Haunting was that good. And Aaron Forsythe was like, yeah, we didn't really think it was actually going to get there. And so he's like, we really wanted to juice it. And we're like, well, you really did, buddy. You really did.
This is another thing with the Mausoleum Guard type thing where it's like just the next set.
Right.
And it's already a very similar card, and Midnight Haunting was already good.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing is just...
This thing is going to fit right in. Next
nice.
up, I love me a Loyal Cathar. I do. We talked about it before.
Yep.
Todd, I'm curious sort of what your feelings are. For me, I've already got my foil pre-ordered for my cube. Like, I'm ready to go. I think this guy's awesome. What do you think?
I think he kind of fits into the same vein as Doom Traveler, where he's a decent threat on his own. The fact that he's a 2-power guy for 2 mana is really good for the human deck because they're kind of lacking at the 2-drop slot. When he dies, he doesn't get pumped by Honor of the Pure, which I don't really like. He also can't block, which might matter in some matchups. But the fact that he is a human is really cool. He does have Vigilance, which works pretty well when you're like in a racing situation. So overall, I think he's a solid card. He'll see a decent amount of play. So.
Yeah, I think it's good. Whether or not you play this or Gather the Townsfolk in your human deck is probably dependent on what kind of cards you expect to face. Like if you're getting whip flared, this guy's probably better.
Yeah, definitely.
I whip my flare back and forth. I'm sorry, I love that joke. That is my favorite joke right now for Magic. All right, Midnight Guard. Presence of Gone says, what's going on?
Yeah, basically.
Infinite dudes.
Otherwise,
Infinite
good and
elves.
limited.
Yeah, he's okay. He's I think they made Nettle Sentinel just cost 2 extra mana because they were really afraid after they saw the combo decks that Nettle Sentinel started to generate. So
Right.
yeah, as you said, Presence of Gone is kind of cool. He's also another Splinter Twin card, which is something to denote. But
Right. So yeah, I mean this is one of those cards that like looks totally innocuous. You're like, oh, another guy can play whatever, but like ultimately can just be broken in half by a variety of random
Magic
cards.
is getting so big that there's so many cute combos that you can pair with cards like this. So.
yeah,
But all of a sudden people get excited about Presence of Gone.
Yeah.
Who knew? That's great. So Niblis of the Mist, 3 mana 2/1 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, tap creatures and stuff. Limited goodness.
I love this type of card limited, especially in my white decks. Anything that constantly allows you to apply pressure is great.
Yeah.
Yep.
This feels almost like, I mean, it certainly is like a tempo card. You know,
Yeah.
you want your Doom Traveler, your 2-drop, your 3-drop taps that, get you. Almost kind of sort of reminds me of the Waxmane Baku.
Yep,
because I love Kamigawa Baku.
Yeah.
So much. Niblis of the Urn is sort of in the same vein, but actually feels a lot better. 2 mana 1/1 flyer that when it attacks, you remove their best blocker.
that's why it's an uncommon, I think.
Oh, for sure. And only 1 power.
I forget. I think it was Season Marshal was one like the core set All Star from like I think like 9th edition, where whenever he attacked, you could tap a guy as a 2/2 for 4 mana, and this guy's basically a flying version of that costs 2 less mana. I think he's going to be one of the best white cards for limited, non-rare wise.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't care about blocking, like it's kind of like an FTK, you know,
Right.
little guy that kills their best guy every time.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like a tempo, attacking deck in limited, like this guy seems like the all-star.
Yeah, he's sweet.
This is the guy you want on turn 2.
Yeah, definitely.
Ray of Revelation got reprinted.
I love this card.
Me too.
Awesome card.
I'm a big fan of Intuition and Gifts piles and stuff like that. I want to play this in my Forbidden Alchemy control decks.
Yeah, now this is legal in Modern, which is nice because it wasn't legal before.
Yep.
So I think I think that's more important to note than it being in Standard. But yeah.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, it also sort of helps with the Splinter Twin matchups and things, I guess.
Yeah,
various matchups.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Requiem Angel, it's sort of like a gift to the angel lovers. Like, there is a subset of Magic players, and they just love angels. They love any kind of angel, no matter what kind it is, no matter what it does or what it's costed at. It just seems awesome and limited.
Just glad it's not Mythic.
Well,
want to take up another Mythic slot.
There was that Archangel's Light, they had to squeeze that one in. Okay. Obviously,
right.
Better than the Requiem Angel, but like she's making guys when other guys are dying. It's cute and all. Like,
yeah, I mean it's very dominant and limited, obviously.
Right.
Just huge flyer that has a upside.
I'll take the dragon.
Yeah.
Like I will take the dragon.
Yes.
It's
even splashable. That's the. It's like I haven't seen a splashable angel in 6 years. Like,
wow, I really want her to go kick some butt in limited
Yeah.
or in various casual decks, but Ceiling Cat, as I call it, is next. Sanctuary Cat.
right.
Squire got better.
Power creep, man.
Man.
Brian Brown doing is very sad that Sanctuary Cat was printed because Squire is his favorite card.
Oh.
Really?
Yes. He has a whole binder full of Squires, so now he's just gonna have to like put some cats next to it.
Or maybe you could like throw some in there so when he opens it up, it's like, oh, another cat. Stupid Sanctuary Cats.
Yeah.
Seance, me and Gerry talked a little bit about it. Sort of, how do you feel, Todd, on Seance right now?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like they should have done something to make it a little better. Like, the creature doesn't have haste, so basically your creature that you bring back has to have some sort of, like, come into play effect or leave effect for it to be relevant at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to me, it just seems like a lot of work. Like, it doesn't trigger till your upkeep. You already have to have a guy in the yard. But, I mean, it's a very combo-centric card, I think. So if you have cards that play really well with it, like things that you can sacrifice or whatever, I mean, it could be playable, but, I mean, in Standard, I don't think it's very good.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it's 100%, just Johnny fodder, essentially.
Yeah.
But I think it's
I
great
agree
at
with
what
that.
it does. Like, I think, like, it gets the gears flowing, and people, or gets the gears moving, and people are just, like, really excited about it, and what can I do with it, and what kind of crazy combos can I make happen, but ultimately, it's not going to be winning any Grand Prix.
No.
Silverclaw Griffin, because Plover Knights was too good.
It was.
Was Plover Knights too good?
It actually was. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen Riot Devils and Innistrad Limited, but that guy has 3 toughness and doesn't die to anything. There's Brimstone Volley, like Devil's Play, that's it. Like, he just doesn't die to removal spells. But if they made a 3/3 flying first strike, it would just completely dominate combat. But with Silverclaw Griffin, I mean, there's a ton of cards that deal 2 damage. So I think 3/2 is perfect for the cost. So
yeah, I mean, in Plover Knights, when we're talking about, was that Shadowmoor or was that Lure One?
That was
Lure One. Yeah. And Plover Knights was again same cost, but they were a 3/3 flying first strike, and that card was nuts. That card was crazy.
It was
limited.
very good.
But they also had a lot of tools to Lure One, and also one of the things that they said about Lure One being bad was that it created incredibly complicated game states on the board. But there was also a way to sort of control Plover Knights through a lot of the Merfolk tapping ability and stuff. So it wasn't quite. I think would be quite as good. I don't think it was quite as good then as it would be now.
They also didn't want to make it a human because then you couldn't bond to faith it. I think Plover Knights might have been a human. So
sure. So skillful lunge, good old limited tricks. +2/+0. I think this was a red card in various forms.
Yeah.
Probably.
But skillful lunge, limited goodness.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. I'll play 1.
Yeah, it's not as good as Moment of Heroism, I think, but it's solid. I mean, I would probably play at least a couple.
That's true. I think Wizards is sort of finding that if they can just get the cards to be like not terrible, but not super awesome, just enough to where you're in that 23rd card slot, and you're like, it'll do. I ain't got no moments of heroism, but I got a skillful lunge. So
there'll be like plenty of stories where you're like, I attacked with my Lumber Knot, who was a 5/5, and he double blocked with his like 4/4 and 3/3, and I just skillful lunge and killed both of his guys for free and pumped my guy, and then. And then all your friends just, oh my god, he won the PTQ with skillful lunge.
Exactly. Those types of situations happen with these cards. Sudden disappearance, as I understand it from Mark Rosewater, this card has existed for a long time, and they finally got to print it.
Seems pretty sweet to me.
Seems like a super awesome, make stuff happen card.
Yeah, I mean, it's very versatile, which is nice. Like, I mean, in Limited, you can just remove all your opponent's guys from play for 1 turn so you can Alpha Strike them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or in Constructed, if you want to build your deck around it, you can just have, like, a ton of the 80s, come into play effects, stuff like that.
Revel Arc, Momentary Blink type stuff.
Commander players are going to love this.
Yes.
Love this. Because
Blink
this says target player, blink everything you have. Yep. Like, go. And then, like, all these players just get to demolish you. Like, don't piss off that guy. He'll suddenly disappear at your crap.
Yeah, plus, it works really well with stuff like Eternal Witness, so that you can just do it every single turn.
Right. Return to the cards. Or the beginning of the next end step. Oh, okay. Well, the beginning of the next end step. That's fine.
Well, you can't do it a million times.
So you can't do it. Well, you can't do it every turn. Yeah, you can do it once a turn, but it can't, like, when it's the next person's turn, all the stuff comes back. So, no. Anyway. I thought it was until their end step. But regardless, what may be in the top 3 best cards in the set?
It's good, but it's not Lingering Soul's good.
Thalia, Garden of Thraben, Thorn of Amethyst, we talked about it. Thorn of Amethyst on a stick. Todd, how you feel about it?
I mean, I think that this card single-handedly pushes humans into tier 1, if it wasn't already. Thalia completely dominates control decks, forces them to spend an extra mana to remove it. So, like, if you're on the play with Thalia, they can't, kill it with a 1 mana removal spell. They can't think twice for less than 3 mana. which is just absurd. And Day of Judgment costs 5.
It's basically Time Walk if you
Yeah.
played against control on the play,
It's
at the very least.
That's just the sickest. Like,
Yeah.
they have Tragic Slip, and you're like, land go, they go land go, you go land Thalia, and they go,
Yeah, they just can't tragic slip in this one.
they're like, float a black. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
it's all very sweet. Your
Yeah.
turn.
And then the fact that she has first strike makes her just like pretty reasonable in combat by herself. So
Right.
Yeah, most of these things like Canonist or whatever, they don't battle too well, but this thing's actually pretty good.
yeah,
Oh,
it's very
man.
very nice. So
So next to it is, I think, another fantastic card, Raymond Doomsayer. Not super awesome, not, I don't think, as good as Thalia, but, it's good.
It's good.
Got
It is-
Fate Flower.
It's
Yeah.
definitely good.
yeah, I
Where-
think it's pretty similar to Imperious Perfect, but it doesn't pump your guys unless you have Fateful Hour. So if you're kind of pushing that mechanic, I mean, it does generate 3/3s if you're under 5 life, so that's pretty relevant. And if you're like building your deck to kind of do that, then I mean, it's a staple. Like
Any creature that
100%.
basically says if a situation is possible that happens every game that you're in, it taps to make a 3/3. I'm not hating it. I'm not against it in any form or fashion.
Get your Hex Parasites now.
Woo! Telling you, if that becomes like the major like strategy standard, it's
Yeah,
blow
just
my mind.
Pay all my life. Play this card.
On SCG Live, like, get ready to put his life down to 4 because this is going to happen. Thraben Heretic is our last card. Limited bread and butter. Do you think it actually is like really nice and limited because of all the blue creatures that require you to exile a creature card? to
Yeah,
play
it's
them?
okay. I if I'm playing a self-mill deck, I definitely don't want to play against this card.
Mm.
Seems pretty annoying.
yeah,
Hurts
I
your
mean,
Knot of the Bones.
Yeah. I
Hurts
want
recursion of
I
all
want a
sorts.
spider spawning. I want to like Memories Journey, all my sweet stuff back in after I deck myself. This card just like blows me away. So
Yeah, I think it's good for like kind of older formats too. I don't think white decks have anything other than like Jotun Grunt to really mess with people's graveyards, and the fact that this is kind of like pinpoint whenever you need to, it kind of can shut down Reanimator at times and stuff like that. So it's
So they've
something.
been using Scavenging Ooze, I know, in the green white map.
Oh yeah, and like green
no,
white
this,
shirt.
This
but
is so much worse than Scavenging Ooze, but
that's true.
This is actually interesting to me because it's like a hate card just for the Innistrad limited environment.
yeah.
It's like it's very like scalpel pinpointed in. Like I think a developer is very proud of this card.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah,
developers
most
like,
likely.
yes, this like did exactly what it needed to do in the environment,
Yep.
Right. I mean, it seems okay. Yeah.
which
I
is
like
fine.
it. Yeah. It's just okay is better than overpowered. So.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so those were our white cards. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us and talking about them. We will be back on Monday talking about the blue cards. So for Todd Anderson, Gerry Thompson, Evan Irwin, we are tapping the cards so you don't have to.